Hi guys, Gijoe here, and welcome back to my bunker here in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the start of my World War II series, and I wanted to give a brief introductory video regarding things such as my interest in World War II history and how I came about loving World War II so much, and kind of what I'd like to see happen in this series to kind of inform you. And I wasn't going to start this video, this introductory video, this quickly. However, I kind of have to, and the reason is because I have three things that are happening this week that pertain to this World War II series that I'm excited about, that I'll share with you here in just a minute. And so, of course, I wanted to do this introductory video first before these things happen, and I videotape those and catalog those. But first, I thought I'd let you know a little bit about myself. My dad was in the Air Force, and he served for about 26 years in the Air Force. And because of that, I was born in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is where the Eglin Air Force Base is. So I was born there in 1970, and we lived there for a few months, and then immediately my dad was stationed overseas. And we got sent to a place that's pretty cool, but unfortunately I don't remember any of it, and that place is the Philippines. My dad was stationed at Clark Air Force Base, and in fact we lived right outside of the main gate in a home there that he rented while we were living there for about 2 years or so. And what was cool about that, if you know history, is that's the area where the Bataan Death March walked by, of course, and right there in front of Clark Air Force Base. So I don't remember any of that, unfortunately. I was only two or three, but I do have some pictures and video from my dad regarding that. So it's kind of a cool, little touch to some World War II history there for me. But like I said, my dad retired in about 1980, 1981 in St. Louis, and that's when we settled in St. Louis. But my grandfather also served in World War II, my dad's dad. I never got to meet him, unfortunately, because he did pass away in 1959, so I never got to meet him. But he did serve on a B-29 crew, several crews apparently, and it was finally worked on the ground crew there towards the end of the war. But he served in the South Pacific on Tinian Island, and I'd like to share some of that information with you that I've recently learned about my grandfather. So here in upcoming videos. But right off the bat, just being raised in a military family with my dad and all, I just had an appreciation for military and a curiosity about historical events. And I started reading, and even as a young kid, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm watching war documentaries, and especially The Longest Day. I remember when that came, not when it came out, but at least the first time I saw it, and in the late 70s. And I remember seeing John Wayne and of course in The Longest Day, and there was something that just grasped my attention about that movie. And as I've gotten older, I realized that it's not exactly historically correct in a lot of ways. However, the thing that intrigued me about it, and still does to this day, is the fact that so many scenes were shot on the actual location that they happened, such as St. Murgles and Pointe du Hoc and places like that. But so that kind of helped spawn a really deeper interest in it. And then, of course, the curiosity about my grandfather and researching him, and my dad researching stuff about his own dad to find out more specifics about his ventures in the South Pacific, and has really been what kind of sparked the interest that I've had in World War II history. And of course, that led me into playing Axis and Allies, which when I first saw that game, it was a perfect marriage of the strategy that I enjoyed and Risk, but yet the history that I loved about World War II, which I'm sure a lot of you have had maybe the same experience. But what I'd like to do for this series is I would like this to be, of course, the introductory video, and I just want to let you guys know a little bit about myself, my past history, and let you know about some of the things that are coming up here actually this week, and which is why I wanted to start this series this week, because I kind of need to. The first thing is I want to do a video about my grandfather. my dad just sent me all the information that he has been able to accumulate through different contacts that he's had with his own military experience, as well as searching his own searching my grandfather's records in Washington D.C. and in St. Louis and such. And so I've recently come into some fascinating information that I'd love to share with you if you're interested. Also, I'm a teacher, so I have this week off for a fall break, and because of that, and because of the fact that I live in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm only about an hour or so away from Taccoa, Georgia. So I'm actually going to be making a trip there this week, I think Wednesday, and I'm going to visit the 101st Airborne Museum in Taccoa, which is where the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, one of the places that they trained before they went over to England to jump into Normandy. But then also I am going to hike or drive, or a combination of both, up Currahee Mountain, which, of course, if you've seen the HBO series, miniseries, Band of Brothers, you know that mountain very well. In fact, it was the very first episode of the series, Currahee. So I want to visit that place, drive up it. I've always been intrigued by that, and it's always been a goal of mine since I've lived here in Atlanta, so I thought, why not do it this week? So I'll definitely catalog that and share that with you as well if you happen to be interested. Hopefully you are. And the last thing, which is very, very special to me, is I have a friend who lives about 45 minutes from here that I met about 2 years ago before I went to Normandy for the first time. And his name is Harold Story. And he is a Normandy veteran. In fact, he came across Utah Beach in 1944, and he just had his 95th birthday 2 days ago. So I called him up and said, Harold, I'd love to visit you sometime next week. So we've already made arrangements for me to visit him next week, and if he will allow, I'd love to videotape maybe a little bit of that experience, maybe ask him some questions about his experience in Normandy and on Utah Beach and such. And I'd like to share that with you if you're interested as well. So those were 3 things that were happening this week between my grandfather, the information that I've gotten that is kind of blowing my mind, to be honest with you, and I'd like to share that with you. And of course the visit to Taccoa, Georgia, and the visit with a Normandy veteran from Utah Beach. But since those 3 things are happening this week, I definitely wanted to get this introductory video out to you. So also I plan on doing some book reviews and some different things. I'd like to show you some of my World War II memorabilia if you happen to be interested in that. I don't have a lot, but the things I have I think are kind of cool, at least to me, and they're very special. And this will also be the series where I will share with you and catalog my experience in Normandy, France. So my trip coming up here in June of 2018 will be through this series right here. And I'll catalog every day, every place that I go. I'm going to be there for about a week, so in all types of places. So I'll definitely share that information with you through this. So I hope you're interested in this, and if you are, please hit subscribe and kind of stay tuned for some videos coming up here very shortly this week. So thanks guys, and hope to see you soon.